mentioned too, is keep a list of everything we're taking. And then once a year, go back to that list and check it. Because all too often, my doctor put me on this a couple of years ago. I'm not sure why I'm on it. I want everybody to go back to every drug they're on once a year, really make sure they need to be on them.
There was some controversy some years ago, might still even be controversial, about teenage girls getting a vaccine for, is it like pelvic cancer or something?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, to me, there's no controversy at all. It's crazy. Human papillomavirus is a virus that can cause cervical cancer, head and neck cancer, and some lung cancers. We can eliminate it. And so we can save about 30,000 lives a year if every child before they're sexually active had this vaccine. And we know of no downside to the vaccine. So there was an argument that, well, getting the vaccine means that you're sexually permissive to the child. It's the opposite. If you don't get the vaccine, you're being permissive to cancer. And so to me, it shouldn't even be an argument. Everybody should be vaccinated because I don't want to see people suffering from cancers that they don't need to.
Everybody should answer this succinctly too, because that to me, just you have such a way of cutting to the chase and getting to the point that it makes it. See, sometimes I think we as lay people get confused because there's too much. You deliver just enough. So you said every child, not every girl. Do boys get this too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so first of all, boys can transmit it, and boys can get head and neck cancer. There's a big thing about Michael Douglas. His head and neck cancer he attributed to getting HPV from somebody. And so, yes, boys and girls need this vaccine. This vaccine is available. It's covered by insurance. In the Affordable Care Act, it means it's covered by everybody. And to me, it is literally a no-brainer. I look at 2 or 3 people a week suffering from cancer, and I don't want to do that anymore.
And sometimes the cancer is confined, and other times it's all over. The cancer that's confined can sometimes be removed, and then the person can have a lifespan. But the cancer that's all over, it seems like that's really a death sentence. Are there new medications or new clinical trials that people can go to if they have the cancer all over and is inoperable?
No question about it. I was, privileged to be the doctor for Steve Jobs. And Steve, in the biography of Walter Isaacson, called it jumping lily pad to lily pad. And what he meant was every time his cancer progressed, we were able to look at the DNA code or the signaling molecules in the cancer and identify the target. And once we did, he was safe on a lily pad. When the cancer progressed, he was swimming again in the pond. And so what's exciting is that in today's world, this is commonplace and routine at every medical center. We can now start to look at the cancers and identify the on switches, and in many cases give pills that can turn them off and buy quality time for the individual. In most cases, they don't cure the cancer, but they buy quality time for all of us to spend time with our family and enjoy life as long as we can.
Wow.
One very, very short chapter is more like a paragraph. It's chapter 29. Your advice for a long life: smile.
It's certainly a simple advice, but it works. Try it right now. Have a smile, and then all of a sudden, the chemicals in your body change. It works. It takes 17 muscles to smile and 43 to frown. So smiling is easier than frowning, and it does change your body. I can do it right now, and I feel my shoulders go down and my muscles relax.
Well, that's good news.
The body was made to enjoy it.
That's good news for us. Because here's why I say that. Because Robin and I basically are in the entertainment business. We're not really experts at anything, but we goof up a lot. We goof off a lot, I should say. Guys like you really make a contribution to this world, and we feel so inadequate compared to somebody like you. So to hear you say that an entertainer perhaps is actually giving something because there's maybe a reason to smile, something dopey to laugh at, maybe it's not so superficial. Maybe there's actually some importance to what we do, even though it still fades in comparison to what you do, Doctor. One of the things, I was looking at the list of things to do during the cold season. You have in the back of the book 10 things you can do for cold, 10 reasons to take a walk, a few of those kinds of things. And one of them says, keep zinc lozenges on hand. So that's one of the things I was going to ask you also about zinc, because I've often heard that zinc helps get rid of a cold. It sounds like it must be true if you have it on the list.
So the only thing in randomized trials in science that has been proven to be shorten the duration of the common cold is zinc lozenges. And it's very simple science, is that zinc is positively charged, the viruses are negative. They actually bind to each other, and it blocks the virus from getting in the cell. So if you start to have a scratchy throat or start to feel a cold coming on, within the first 48 hours, take zinc lozenges, do the instructions on the back of the package, and they work. They don't taste good, but they work. And the biggest question is, more is not better. Take the instructions on the back of the pack. And the other thing to do when you get sick, which is interesting, is first of all, stay home from work. Don't spread it to your coworkers or family or school, etc. But our notion is we stay at home, we sit in bed, we eat all day, we just give our body what we think it wants. We have to stick more to our regular schedule. So stay at home is great, but walk around the house. Keep eating your meals at a regular time. Movement or walking make your immune system work. Your lymphatics that control your immune system have no muscles in their wall. So it's actually the rhythmic contraction of the muscles in your legs when you walk that make your body work. So don't spend all day in bed. Walk around the house. It'll make a big difference.
So let me just reintroduce Dr. Agus. Dr. David B. Agus is our guest. His book is called A Short Guide to a Long Life. And if you have a question for Dr. Agus, you are invited to call right now, 622-WOCA.
How do you keep the demeanor that you have about you, sir, when you are working with your patients and their families? There has to be some type of anxiety on your part that when you leave the office and go home, you need to unwind a little bit without making yourself ill.
It's very true. Is that downtime is important for all of us. And, I schedule in downtime at the end of the day where I have no technology. Believe it or not, I separate from my email. I don't watch anything on a screen. And I either take a walk with my wife and children or the dog, or I just take a walk in the garden. I need that downtime. And it works. All the experiences you've had during the day, during that downtime, they actually embed in your brain and you remember them better. So the simplest clue to actually a better memory is having downtime at the end of the day.
Oh, wow. Less things to remember, too. You're just taking a nap. Nothing to remember. do you know, I was watching Larry David, the comedian, the writer, the guy who helped half of the Seinfeld team, the one you never saw on Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you know who he is. And he was speaking at like an environmentalist kind of a convention, and he was basically being very funny and saying, I would never associate myself with any of you guys, anybody trying to save the earth. I always thought you're a bunch of nuts. And then I found out that tuna fish was affected, and I said, I got to help out. So I can't go. And so on your list of fish that we need to avoid, I'm with him because I love tuna fish.
Yeah.
So you have tuna on the fish we should avoid. Is that right?
Oh.
Well, listen, what I say is that, you want 3 or more servings a week of cold water fish, and we know there's a health benefit to that. But in today's world, we have to be very cautious about mercury. You can have 108 servings of trout for 1 serving of swordfish and get the same amount of mercury. And tuna is slightly higher on the mercury list. What happens, and this is the science that people need to know, is that coal plants in China, the impurity in coal is mercury. So it goes up into the air as elemental mercury. That doesn't harm any of us. And when it rains, it goes into the water, bacteria convert it to methylmercury, and the fish eat it, and methylmercury harms us. So you have to be very aware not to have too much mercury. 8% of women in the United States, when they give birth, have a mercury level that will affect the brain development of the child. So this is a serious issue.
Oh, wow.
And there are more and more coal plants literally on a daily basis in China, and that will continue to affect us. So we can't avoid fish because we all love it. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we have to figure out a way to treat the fish or to fix it so that the mercury is degraded. The first 100 feet of the ocean don't have mercury because the sunlight degrades methylmercury. So you don't think scientists should be able to figure out a way to degrade the methylmercury in the fish before we eat it, or to label a fish so we can test it? This is 100 units of mercury, this has 2, so you'll buy the less mercury fish. These are the things that we need to pay attention to, that we need to focus our research dollars on, because we need change in health, and this is how we can do it.
A lot of people like to take supplements in lieu of eating right. Taking supplements, is that a good idea?
It's a loaded question. And so there's been a number of studies recently.
Leave it to Robin for the loaded question.
This involves hundreds of thousands of people. There has never been a positive study to any vitamins or supplement. I guarantee you don't have many friends that have scurvy, which is lack of vitamin C, or rickets, which is lack of vitamin D. So taking vitamins and supplements have no benefit. The counter is they also can cause harm. If a man takes vitamin E, it can dramatically increase his rate of prostate cancer. Smokers and former smokers who take vitamin A and beta-carotene dramatically increase the rate of lung cancer and death. And by the way, death is a bad side effect.
Oh.
Women who take multivitamins in one study have more cancer. So no benefit, yet we can cause harm, and yet people do it. We spend more on vitamins and supplements in our country than all of medical research. We spend more on potato chips than cancer research. So something is wrong with that picture.
Wow. I want to say this for the listeners, that Robin and I speak to a lot of doctors who have written a lot of really great books. And Dr. Agus has successfully put together a book that is perfect for the layperson. I mean, you have really written it in such a way that I get it, which says a lot, to be honest with you. All right, let me squeeze in one more phone call, then I'll let people know how to get the book. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. There's just so much going on here and so much information and so much to cover till it's difficult in this time. But you're talking about spending money, and it seems like there's been so much money spent on cancer research. So I would hope, by now that we would have a cure. But they're just, still popping a lot of pills and chemo and radiation and all that. And you also talk about vitamins and what they are good for and what they're not good for. And then you talk about the flu shot. And now I've heard that the flu shot, you may later on, if you don't take it, have cancer. But I also hear that you take the flu shot, you will get Alzheimer's. So there's so much information out there, so much we got to dig through. It's hard to know what to do. But, just keep listening, I guess. Thanks.
I agree. I mean, there's a major problem is we don't have healthcare leadership in our country. When the greatest leader in healthcare in the last decade is the mayor of New York City, who banned trans fat and banned smoking in restaurants, there's a problem there. And so we don't have real leadership pushing us in the right way. The flu shot, it cannot cause Alzheimer's. I guarantee you there's no data to that regard. What we do know is that people are afraid of diseases. Alzheimer's is a great example. I mean, I'm afraid of it because my grandmother had it. But the data in Alzheimer's are simple, is that every year you delay retirement, you reduce the incidence of Alzheimer's by 4%. So the old adage, you don't use it, you lose it, is correct. And so it doesn't mean you need to keep working in a very physical job. It could mean just getting a hobby, but keep your brain working, and we could lower the incidence together.
Oh, I love that.
But we need to start to, as a group, come together with and say, this is an idea that has hit critical mass, and we need to act on it. Where scientific data are real, we as a nation need to start to take action, and we can dramatically change health. Because we need to. It's out of control in our country right now.
I really love what you're saying. I just want to kind of touch on something that the last caller said, and she's absolutely right. And Robin and I are the ones who, in part anyway, give that information and then the contrary information to the listeners, because we interview a guest once in a while who is contradictory to the guest 1/2 hour earlier.
Yes.
And we'll mention it. We'll say, well, how come the guy before was so confident that this is true and that's true? Milk is good, milk isn't good, coffee's good, coffee isn't good, and so I think that's why I like the fact that you've not only given us this short explanation of a lot of things, but also some of the resources, and you cut to the chase for a lot of it. The book is called A Short Guide to a Long Life. I have a copy of it. Nice little book. You will be going back to this book more than you'll be going back to any other reference book regarding health anyway. Dr. David B. Agus wrote the book. If you're looking him up, A-G-U-S is how he spells his last name. And the phone has lit up. Let me take one of these, and then we'll give the information how we can go buy one. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Oh, thank you. This is Lois.
Lois. Okay. Do you know where we are, Lois?
I sure do.
Okay. We're in the Paddock Mall now, just so you know.
Yes, I know.
Okay. Thank you, Lois.
And thank you.
Lois has the book, so the rest of us have to go buy it. Doctor, how do we do that?
Well, you can go to Barnes & Noble, Amazon, download it to your Nook or your Kindle or your iPad. It's available all over. I wrote a book 2 years ago called The End of Illness, and it shocked me how well it did around the world. And so this is the next step, which is all the prescriptive elements and the things to do divided into rules of do's and don'ts. Healthcare is simple if you start to look at the data.
And do you have a website for yourself?
DavidAgus.com.
Easy enough. David Agus, A-G-U-S, DavidAgus.com. Doctor, thank you for a great segment on our show, and thank you for writing this book. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Rob and Larry, thank you guys for what you do. Making us laugh is a good thing.
I hope we get a laugh once in a while anyway. Thank you. And of course, this kind of segment isn't a funny one, but...
But
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for being on with us today.
You got it. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll take a break and be right back.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala home store on Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give them a call and they'll come and pick it up. For more information, visit habitatocala.org. Habitat for Humanity of Marion County, building homes, building hope, building community.
Here are today's headlines from the source WOCA. Marion County Fire Rescue has issued the following news release. Marion County Fire Rescue crews responded to 2 structure fires in Anthony yesterday. An alarm company reported the first fire at 9350 Northeast 22nd Court in Anthony to 911 dispatchers at 3:59 p.m. Marion County Fire Rescue crews were on the scene within 7 minutes. The single-story residence was 25% involved upon their arrival. Firefighters tackled the blaze offensively, entering the home immediately to fight flames and search for any occupants. The fire was under control at 4:25 p.m. The report continues to say that the state fire marshal arrested an approximately 50-year-old female on suspicions of arson. Marion County Fire Rescue also responded to a second fire in Victory Mobile Home Park at 9588 Northeast Jacksonville Road yesterday in Anthony at 7:27 p.m., 5 minutes after the Public Communications Center received the emergency call from a neighbor. The mobile home was 75% engulfed in flames when the first of 7 Marion County Fire Rescue units arrived. The fire was under control by 7:42 p.m. One patient was treated for smoke inhalation inside a rescue vehicle, but was not transported to the hospital. The fire department wants you to know that it is important to have a smoke alarm in each room and all common areas. Marion County Fire Rescue's Get Alarmed program provides and installs one dual-mode smoke alarm for any Marion County homeowner who cannot afford one. If you'd like more information about that program, call 352-291-8000. And of course, call us here at WOCA if you need that number repeated. A man convicted of abducting and killing a Miami couple and later stabbing a prison guard to death is set to be executed after nearly 4 decades on Florida's death row. Asghari Abdullah Muhammad, previously known as Thomas Knight, is scheduled to die by lethal injection today at Florida State Prison in Stark, barring any last-minute successful appeal. Governor Rick Scott signed the death warrant after the Florida Supreme Court in December rejected Muhammad's challenge to chemicals used in the state's execution procedure. Muhammad is 62 years old, was first condemned to die for the 1974 killings of Sidney and Lillian Gans, then known as Knight. He worked for Gans at a paper bag company before abducting him in the business parking lot. A Brevard County woman has died from the flu, and 2 other flu victims are on life support, according to the Brevard County Health Department in a news release issued yesterday. Hospitals are seeing a surge in cases, and health officials are encouraging people to get a flu vaccine to protect themselves and to reduce the spread of the disease. The woman who died Sunday at Holmes Regional Medical Center in Melbourne was in her mid to late 30s, according to Haidar Hashmati, director of the Health Department. He did not provide additional information about the patient. A representative with Health First, which owns Holmes, referred questions about the case to the Health Department. Hashmati said the 2 people on life support with influenza are a pregnant woman in her mid-30s at Holmes and a 62-year-old man at Parish Medical Center in Titusville. He said the pregnant woman had refused to get a flu vaccination. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the flu is more likely to cause severe illness in pregnant women. The agency says the vaccine not only protects the pregnant woman, but her unborn child as well. The vaccine also will protect the baby after it is born. And the freezing cold temperatures outside have officials at many north central Florida homeless shelters bracing for an increase in those needing services. Several shelters and agencies opened up their doors early yesterday after a few people stood in line for hours in order to get a warm place to spend the night. With temperatures dipping below freezing and expected to do so again tonight, officials say they're ready to take in more people than usual. And those are the headlines from The Source, WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM. Thank you, Mr. Newsman.
That's you.
I don't usually follow me with me. I don't usually follow me on tape with me live.
Yeah.
But I did today.
Yes, you did.
Brianna is on the phone from Jerry's Pawn and Gun, and we're going to speak to her about some of the things. I wonder if anybody came in today, like yesterday they weren't believing it was going to get cold, and today they said, let me get that hunting clothing.
That's right.
Those guys, the Duck Dynasty guys, they're always looking warm. I wonder if a beard keeps you warm. Joe, does a beard keep you warm?
Yes.
Good morning, Brianna.
Good morning.
Yeah, those guys got big beards. Do you think they keep you warm? Hey, there's your mom, Robin.
I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah, it got cold just like we were told it was going to get, right?
Yes, it did, and we sold out of heaters yesterday, and then we sold quite a few pieces of those hunting clothes that keep you warm.
Oh, really? And you're probably going to get some more today, right?
Well, we already have, so I think so.
Well, it's just they look warm actually. Those big things. They're filled with something. What are they filled with?
Some of them are filled with the goose feathers or down.
Goose feathers.
They call it a down.
Down
filling or whatever
filled.
they call it.
Yeah.
I used to have pillows like that. When I was growing up, we had goose down feathered pillows, and boy, were they comfortable.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Are you a goose? What do you call that? Duck Dynasty? Are you a Duck Dynasty watcher? Do you watch that show?
I have never seen it.
Never seen it, but you know what they look like, right? With the big long
I know
beards.
what they look like. Yep.
They have a brother who doesn't have a beard. Did you know? He's a preacher. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. There's
I
another
heard that.
guy. There's another
Yeah.
guy. He's a pastor at a church, and he does not have a beard. But when he goes duck hunting, he grows a beard, so it doesn't get as long as theirs. But then
Oh, so he's part of the group then.
he becomes
Oh, my
he
goodness.
becomes part of the group.
Wow.
The cold weather obviously has got us all talking about what did you do to stay warm last night? You have your heater on?
Oh, yeah. I definitely had the heater on, and I have a comforter that's made with that down feathered stuff in it, and that definitely kept me warm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My dog was loving the blankets last night too.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, I spoil my dog. So do you have people coming in right now? Do we have a duck season in Florida? That's maybe a crazy question, but do we have that?
There is a season. I just don't know the date and the time right offhand.
Oh, right. So what are people coming in for the most right now? Is it the warm clothing?
I would say the warm clothing, the boots. I've been selling plenty of those hand warmers and feet warmers.
What is the hand warmer? What is that?
It's one of those packets that when you open it and you move it around, it activates it and makes it warm, and you can keep it in your pockets with your hands.
Oh, it's a chemical thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
or you
wow.
put them in your socks with your feet.
How long does that last? How long does it stay warm?
These packets stay up to 14 hours.
Wow. And how much are they?
I think they're $1.99.
See, that's what I should have got my dog. I should have got some of them and put them in. She likes to sleep in the chair, so.
Oh.
See, because when I leave, I put the blanket all over her, right? But as soon as she gets up, she doesn't know to put. She lays on top of it.
She can't put it back on herself.
Yeah, so that's what I should have done.
That's called a hot dog.
That's called a hot dog. Bev said that's a hot dog. All right. Well, Brianna, let's see. What else can we talk about? We talked about staying warm. What's the next season? Is Groundhog coming up soon?
Well, I know we have spring turkey coming up, and I think that's in March. I'll have to get the dates on that. But as far as hunting goes, spring turkey is next.
Have you had many people coming in to borrow money after the big spending month?
Absolutely, and there's plenty of people that maybe have overspent for the holidays, and we've been getting them.
Yeah, I did too. I'm the guilty one there too.
It happens to all of us.
Brianna, what is the phone number at Jerry's Pawn and Gun?
Phone number here is 622-3780.
Okay, and where are you?
We're located on Highway 441 and Northwest 8th Street in Ocala, just north of the courthouse.
All right, and for those who listen all the time, say, Lara, why do you ask? You know that where it is. You know where Jerry's Pawn and Gun is.
I'm also supposed to mention something.
What is it?
If you come in and you are looking to purchase jewelry or guns, so either of those two items, and you mention that you heard us on the radio, you will get a discount. I just don't know what the discount is. It's just the note I've been passed.
All right, a special discount if you're in there to buy jewelry or guns and you mention WOCA.
That's right.
Now, what if you walk in, put your hands on your hips and say, "Where is Brianna?" Is that good enough?
That's equivalent, yes.
That's a sign that they heard you on this station, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, Brianna, thank you for all you do for all of us. And for everybody else, remember, Jerry's Pawn and Gun is a pawn shop, so you can borrow, you can sell, you can buy. And, of course, there are so many things that are brand new that it's hard to kind of name them all. But
Absolutely.
go buy some jewelry and a gun and mention WOCA and get a special discount. But
That's
Brianna
right.
will always haggle for you anyway, so you always help me out. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you for all you do.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, we will take a little break and we'll be right back to have fun with Joe.
Today in Florida Ag News from the Southeast AgNet, a new Focus on Cotton webcast will address the issue of Italian ryegrass and glyphosate-resistant management. Over the years, Italian ryegrass could be found on roadsides and ditches and other benign places. But unfortunately, glyphosate-resistant biotypes of this weed are being found more and more in cotton fields. Jason Bond, Mississippi State University Research and Extension Weed Scientist, is one of the leading experts in helping growers manage this noxious weed and will share this valuable knowledge in the latest Focus on Cotton presentation, titled Management of Glyphosate-Resistant Italian Ryegrass. To view this and other talks, log on to plantmanagementnetwork.org and look for the Focus on Cotton link. Well, according to a draft environmental impact statement from USDA, full deregulation is the preferred alternative for corn and soybean traits from Dow AgroSciences that are resistant to 2,4-D herbicide. Dow's endless corn and soybeans are the first developed with 2,4-D resistance, and they've been under USDA review for several years. According to Dow, growers need new tools now to address the growing challenge of herbicide-resistant and hard-to-control weeds. But groups like the Center for Food Safety are opposed to USDA's recommendation, as Executive Director Andrew Kimbrell says the decision, if finalized, would launch American agriculture into a new era of vastly increased dependence on more toxic pesticides. The draft EIS will be open for public comment for 45 days once it's published in the Federal Register, which is expected in the next week. The Environmental Protection Agency is currently reviewing the safety of Dow's